Hi, hopefully you guys can hear me. See what we can do here. Let's see. Oh wow, apparently you guys have been kicking around on the chat since before I became live. Okay, it's a new experience for me. This will only be my second live stream here on YouTube, so let's see if I can figure out how to catch up on things and what we got going on. Wow, you guys have been talking a lot before I got on here. Let's see. Got a bunch of can't waits. Hey, that's cool. This whole experience is weird for me. The whole people really wanting to talk to you. I'm just a redneck up in Maine. I mean, it's kind of really heartwarming. Um, I can't exactly get into too many details right now, but it this last month and a half, I'm gonna make a video to tell you guys more about what's going on and why it is I've been around more. But this last month and a half has just been fun. We're gonna word it as a sarcastic fun, and we'll do a cover video on that and more of what's going on later. But okay, let's get chippered back up here. We gotta go and grab our ginger ale. What we got tonight? Let's see, extra ginger brew from Reed's. There we go. And I love the extra ginger brew. It's spicy and reminds me a lot of like the crisp taste that whiskey used to have. So, oh geez. Okay, so camera quality looks excellent. Good lighting. Cool. Thanks, Off-Road. I did a video up on Facebook earlier with this camera in order to go and see how things would go, and it's doing pretty well. You guys are asking about merch. Do I have merch? Actually, these are available through the YouTube system. If you look down below some of the videos, you'll see that these and a couple other shirts are available through the way YouTube does merch. But the other thing is I'm also, as of this week, actually, I'm an Amazon affiliated, and I also managed to qualify for a full Amazon store and all of that for being able to do affiliated resell program. So if you actually look in the description of this video, you're going to see that there's a link at the top. That's my experimental storefront shop type thing. If you click on it, you should see a picture of John on the gas-powered power wheel, and the GT6000 plow tractor should be there. And what I've been able to do on there is segment stuff so that I can post up like actual tools that I actively use in the shop, and be able to post up tools that I actually think are worth buying. I have started doing some sponsored videos and stuff like that, but I'm going to keep the shop storefront so that it's actual tools that I actually use. So keep an eye on that. I want people to be able to have a trusted source or something like that they can go to. I also get a bunch of you asking about how it is I've been setting up for my YouTube, because I've been upping my ante on doing YouTube videos and being able to set up to do more stuff. And so the basic equipment that I've set up with at this point is also listed there, plus or minus a couple of cameras, but that gets into a whole nother ball game of different things that happened. So yeah, the everything I bought through Amazon for the latest gas-powered power wheel build is up on one of those storefronts. So do me a favor, click on the link, take a look around, see if there's anything you find interesting or something like that. And if you happen to go and feel like buying some welding wire for your flux core welder that's like mine, or something like that, through it so that I get like a quarter back or some stupid thing like that. I'm not really sure how it all works, but you get the idea. Oh, let's see. Hey, at West Virginia, we need to get real redneck computer geek to go mudding down here. I would love to take a machine and go like down through the East Coast and stuff like that. I always want it. I want to get like a bus, like an old school bus. I want to take and I want to section it and make a camper in the front, just big enough for me and the wife and stuff like that, and then cap it and then make the back end so that it's got like a crane area to be able to pick up and set machines on, and a ramp up through onto the back and all that kind of stuff. And it would be awesome. That's what I would love to do, is something like that. Let's see. Greetings to my favorite YouTuber from Blind Guy Customs. Hey, dude, I hope that GoPro setup is working out for you. And, speaking about that, guys, if you ever want to do like the Blind Guy does, he'll send me a message, whether it's through the Redneck Computer Geek Facebook page or whether it's through email to mainmudmowers@yahoo.com. Send me a message. If I get time in the afternoon or something when I sit down, I'll gladly respond and try and help you with stuff. Obviously, if it's some numbnut question that anybody with 5 seconds worth of brain cells should have figured out, I might not respond. But if it's an in-depth question that needs a little bit of help, feel free, write me up something. And if I don't know it, I probably know somebody who does. And that's really the big thing about this Mudmower community, is we have to go and help each other. We have to go and build this community. And that's what I want to get back to. It's what I started doing 5 years ago, and then life got in the way. A bunch of other things happened. And so that's what I want to see. I want to see this community build back like it was 5 years ago. All right. Let's see. I have a mud mower, but I can't find a pulley for it. All right. Dude, you want to like say which kind of pulley you're looking for? Are you looking for the transaxle pulley, the engine pulley? You're looking for idlers? What are we talking here? I'm sure somebody can kick up something. Hey, Joseph, good to see you. Yes, I'll stop in at some point down to the old shop. I haven't had a chance to. It's good to go and hear from you. Things are a little up in the air, but we're getting things a little more leveled out. But we'll be following up on that later. For tonight, let's just go and stick with the usual stuff. Oh, wait a minute. All right, this live chat thing is less than nice some days. Lawnmowers and Dirt Bikes wants to go and get together in Maine sometime. Dude, I'd love to go and be able to do that. I want to go and get Maine Mudmower fully registered as an ATV, and I want to go around. I actually found an ATV group that's near me that potentially will let me ride on open days. So we're going to see what we can do. I also found an off-road park that said that they'll let me ride as long as I sign one of those "you're a moron, sign here in case you hurt yourself" waivers. So I can't wait to try that out and go see what they got for trails. And they actually ended up on dirt every day. So their park's been growing a lot ever since then. Hey, money. I'm not quite sure what hey money means, but all right, let's see. All right, let's skip down through. Let's see what we can do about catching up on some of these things. If you're reading this, you have to give me advice to stop Mario. Oh, geez, the old Mario question. Well, I guess the first answer to that would be do not put the switch that drops you into the pit of fire where it is Mario can get to it. End of story. It's that simple. Weld up a cage, put it over the top of the switch, kill Mario, all good. That's my advice. Let's see. Surplus Center has a lot of pulleys. I got a local Tractor Supply. If you got one, use it. Yeah, so surpluscenter.com, I use them a lot, but you have to be really careful. You need to make sure that you're ordering up a pulley that's actually meant for the horsepower that you're dealing with. So when you go to order pulleys, you're going to see that there's a big difference between, I don't know if I have one kicking around here, but there's a big difference between cast aluminum pulleys and cast zinc pulleys versus an actual steel pulley. And you need to make sure to read that that is what you're buying. You need to make sure to check, because a cast zinc pulley is only good for like 5 or 6 horsepower at the most. And that's really pushing how far it does. And so if you go to ride with one of those and it's cold out or you impact it, those things will explode right underneath the tractor. I've seen tons of guys end up exploding them. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you're buying steel pulleys. And the other thing is that sometimes the hub pulleys, the ones that have a hub that you have to weld on, I'll see if I got one right here. Here we go. This is what I'm trying to think of. So you can buy these, which are called H bushings, and I've used these a couple of times in the past. I don't think I've ever posted one on a video though. So these are called H bushings. You can buy them off surpluscenter.com. And what's good about them that I like is that they come with a set of bolts and everything, and you can buy interchangeable pulleys that will go onto the top of this, so that when you're monkeying around with your pulley ratios and stuff like that, you can have a set of belts and be able to use this to put the different pulleys on and try them. But the problem with these in one of these H's is that they're actually cut. See if I can catch that in the camera. You can see right through to my face. And so you got to be careful with that. They won't take all of the abuse that a regular pulley will, but they allow you to swap things out and pulley test all kinds of different sizes and stuff easily. And because it's a uniform size up here, you can take regular pulleys and just drill them out and bolt them onto these in order to try stuff or an emergency repair. All right, so how do you like my green Sears, Neil? I love it. I love all the Sears builds that have come out and stuff like that. The Sears were built with a they were built with these engines in them that all of them ended up eating themselves over time and stuff like that, because they were real oil hogs. And so there's tons of them everywhere. Up here in Maine on the marketplace, it's flooded with them. And unless you're willing to take the time to retrofit, or you're willing to go and take the time to go on to iSaveTractors.com and buy all the parts that dude has, you're never going to get the old engine up and running without investing a whole ton. So, yeah, I mean, it's the Sears Suburbans are amazing, amazing tractors and stuff, but the original engines just couldn't keep up. Let me see. We should go out on the trails in New Hampshire. Yeah, New Hampshire is not that far away, in all honesty. The biggest issue for me at this point is figuring out a time that I can be able to spend time with my kids and go places. As most of you know that are longtime subscribers, John is only with me on the weekends, and so that's why you end up seeing him bouncing around on certain videos and not showing up on other videos and things like that. So when I can, I like to go and spend time on the weekends with him and with Riley and be able to go out and play around and do stuff. So it's just one of those things. That's just the way life is sometimes. Let's see. How do bear claws do on the trail from Cowgirl Motorsports? Hey, dude. The biggest thing about running bear claws is you got to remember that when they hit a solid rock or they hit a solid log, it's going to slam that transmission. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You're about to impact the snot out of that thing. And that's the biggest problem with running the bear claws. They're not like executioners. See, executioners run a bigger lug than a bear claw does, which is why everybody likes running them for mud grip and everything else. But the thing is a bear claw, because of the way that it comes up. Wait a minute, I got an X track over here I can show you. So here's this X track. And so the thing is when you got an executioner, you got like every other. So you got like one here, one here, one here, one here. But when you got a bear claw, you got a straight across with a center nub. So if you catch anything into here, it's not slipping off to one side. You're slamming it for all it's worth. So that's the thing I like about bear claws, but it's also the thing that makes them really dangerous to transaxles. Is you got to be really careful about what it is you gun it up on and drop it when you hit. Your live setup is working mint. That's awesome. It's a new setup. I'm still tinkering with it. I've got it on this new ARM setup. Well, here, I'll show you. Speaking of redneck computer geek things, you guys might get a kick out of this. This was my fix. So if you've ever been around my channel for some of the little DIYs that I do, a lot of times I will grab hard drives and I'll rip them apart for the magnet. So that's what this here is. This is the magnet out of a hard drive. And the bottom of this higher end Logitech webcam that I'm using is flat like this webcam, but it has a metal plate in it that's drilled out for one of these. But instead what I did was I drilled out the edge of a hard drive magnet, and then that way when I go to set down my webcam, I'll use this one as a demonstration. It sits, oh, that one's apparently got metal in it. Okay, so it sits and it clips on, and then that way I just undo it. So there, that's my new setup. I got it on an arm here so that you can see it comes around. And look, we got, I can see you guys. There's my original main mud mower sticker I found today while I was cleaning things. There's my page that I've been working on up here. And ignore the electrical box. You saw nothing. And oh, this is cool. This right here, this is a whiteboard that I ended up getting sponsored. And my sponsorship was by Premium Whiteboards on Amazon. And we're going to be setting this up. That way in the future when we do our live streams and stuff, if we're tearing apart a transaxle or something like that, we can do little sketches and show you guys something. I was hoping to have this set up today, but I got kind of sidetracked. So, all right, we're going to click you guys on. Here we go. There. Hopefully that wasn't too bad of an impact. Let's see. Here we go. Whoa. All right, you guys have been filling up the comments. Let's see what we got going on over here. Let's see, what's up? Sorry. What is that tool, Redneck Computer Geek? Okay, maybe somebody will know what he's talking about. Must be a tool over and around here. Maybe you can describe it. I got a Lawn Ranger mud mower. Lawn Ranger. That's not original at all. But good job. What should one pack in a toolbox? What kind of toolbox are we talking here? Are we talking trail toolbox? Because that's totally different than toolbox I put in the back of my truck. If you're talking trail toolbox, one of my biggest things that I tell everybody to pack in a trail toolbox is whatever wrenches you need in order to be able to swap out your idler pulleys on your mud mower. I don't know what it is about the mud and the idler pulleys and stuff, but if you don't buy the higher end steel, fully sealed bearing idler pulleys, you will blow one up about every third trail that you go on. They just don't hold up, especially the original Husqvarna AYP ones. The ones that they're like a plastic edging on them. I've got one here somewhere. But so they got like a plastic edging on them and like a black pressed in bearing. Whatever those are made out of, they just don't survive in the mud and eventually rips them up. So pack some of those. Always pack a belt that is big enough that fits with that idler pulley and your original. If you can, pack 2 different belts just in case. The other thing that'll happen on the trail is you'll break a clutch spring. So it's always good to pack some sort of alternative, like a bungee cord or something that you can be able to jury rig a clutch with. I've seen a lot of guys manage to make it out of the trail by using the black straps that you use for tying down on the back of a pickup truck. You get the idea. Think ahead for the most common things you're going to break and plan for it. Neil, have you had your hands on an old wheel horse yet? Those are pretty old school rigs. So let me explain something about living in Maine. The thing about living in Maine is every major piece of mechanical technology does not hit Maine until like 10 years after it came out in the rest of the world. So if you see like a Ford truck or a Chevy truck or something that is released, say this year's model truck, we probably won't see it for sale up here in Maine for at least a year, if not 2, if you don't actually pay to import it from another state. That's because up here in Maine, the climate kills everything and it tears everything apart. And so mechanically, companies just don't sell their major product up here that's active until after they're just trying to offload the rest of them. So what that gets back to is that wheel horses, they had like a good run and then they just kind of disappeared off of the market. And I think I've seen probably 2 for sale in the last 6 years, maybe. I've never even touched one. We see Sears Suburbans up here all the time, which are kind of their equivalent up here. And we see Bolin 66s around here all the time. That's how I ended up with one. But we don't end up seeing older red wheel horses around here. Using an MTD steering setup on my Craftsman 2. Rip it down to frame, bolt it in, gripe about whatever it is you have to cut out of the way when you go to put your center console back on, and hope. That's my answer to that one. You want to put an MTD steering setup into a Craftsman? The answer is hope. I don't know anybody that's ever done it, nor do I really know why anybody would. The steering gears on those are worse than the Craftsman ones, in my own personal opinion. The gas-powered Power Wheel, the original one, ended up eating 2 sets of those gears in 2 years. So I wouldn't touch one, but That's up to you. All right. Let's see. All right, we're going to scroll down through here and let's see if we can get caught up on some of these. We got some discussion about the Kendra Bear Claws. They're always a controversial tire. It's amazing to me how controversial those get. And everybody wants to compare them to ITP Mudlights, and they're a thoroughly different design tire. I don't ever understand why it is people insist on doing that. I also find it funny that X-Track, for their snowblower tires, basically decided to totally clone the Bear Claw tires. If you've ever seen the front tires that are on the new mud mower build, those are X-Tracks, but they're pretty well a blatant clone of the Bear Claw. All right. Don't forget a tow rope in your toolbox. That's a good point. Make sure the issue isn't usually whether somebody has a tow rope. The issue is whether the builder planned on being able to get towed. That's the one thing that I ran into years ago when we would run the old Honda ATVs and stuff like that, the old two-wheel drive Hondas, is the rear on those, unless you took the time to make a bracket or something, you had to go and loop a tow rope over the rear axle, which meant that the person driving it couldn't hit the gas because otherwise they'd spin the tow rope up. And it made it pretty stupid. So take the time to make sure that you've got some sort of hooking point that you can get to. I mean, having a winch really gets away from most of that, except for if you end up having to get towed out of the hole. But there's ways you can work around that with a winch also. Let's see. I had 8 wheel horses at one time. You have got to be somebody down south. Wheel horses are always all over the place down south. All right, let's see. Let's keep trying to go and get down to the bottom of this. Have you ever thought of building a chain-driven mud mower? By Scotty. Okay, Scotty, let's talk about chain-driven. So I got a piece of chain here because that question comes up so often that I actually have this for that demonstration. So here's your thing about chain, okay? Chain does not like to sit in this form. And the reason being is because if you have a long enough piece of chain, instead of sitting like this, like everybody would expect, it sits like this. And it ends up jumping and having all kinds of stupid things happen because each one of these links allows it to have some give. So the chain has to run like this. So that's your big quibble right there. Your big quibble is that your chain running like this puts you into having to run a 700 Peerless transmission, but you have to have a pulley that drives to it anyway. Now, the interesting side to that is that you could potentially decide to go in and take that 700 series hookup where the pulley comes off the motor and then goes back and then goes into the pulley setup and then comes up and then drives to the gear. Now, the reason why it is ATVs were more popular in the mud for the longest time wasn't that they didn't have belts. It's that their belt system was enclosed so that the water couldn't get to it. And then the chain came out in order to drive the rear. Now, if you could take a 700 series and make it so that the portion from the pulley under the motor to the pulley that drives into the 700 was an entirely water-proof enclosure, then you could definitely have the least amount of pulley slip ever in a mud mower. But that is a big if. You'd have to go and make sure everything was totally waterproof inside that setup. And the problem is you got two different inputs that are going to have to go through the frame, and you're going to have a seal in both of those inputs that's going to have to be an oiled seal that you continuously are able to maintain. All right. All right, let's see. Bolins are nice. Simple frames, unique manual locking differential. Yeah, I want to go and get the 66 that I have up and running. I've been watching I Save Tractors. That dude does some amazing stuff. I'd like to go and do my 66 like he does his builds and do kind of a restore but yet a retro fit. I'd like to go and take the over there, I've got a red Tecumseh generator motor that you guys probably saw me tear out of something in another video. And I'd like to go and drop that into the Bolins because they were originally Tecumsehs anyway, and go from there. I use ammo boxes from Walmart for toolboxes. I love that. Actually, I have these Harbor Freight boxes that I use in order to go and put all kinds of stuff in. Like this one's one of the camping boxes, I believe. It's got all my tent stakes in it for setting up. And I buy them by the dozen when I buy them. I order them online rather than having to go and spend the 20 bucks to drive to the nearest Harbor Freight. And I order like 10 of them in one big giant box for $6 shipping or $7 or whatever it is. And I love that. They're amazing. And because you spend so little on them, you don't care if you end up breaking them. You can bolt through the bottom of them into stuff. They're great little things. Would it be smart to diesel swap my mower? If you have a Suburban or something like that that's running a 2300 Peerless or a 600 series 666 or whatever it is, I don't know, the devil of Peerless. If you have one of those, then the diesel swaps seem to be a really good, solid way to go. If you're talking about a vertical shaft transmission, diesel swaps are probably not your best idea because you're going to have to set up a twist belt system in order to be able to run a diesel swap. And trust me, anybody that's worked on GT 6000 Craftsmans will tell you that's a horrible, horrible idea. Let's see. Hey, man, I recently found your videos. Big fan. Thank you. I'm glad to go and have you here. I'm enjoying trying to go and up the ante on how things are going and get into more of the YouTube world. Let's see. What about Wanda ATV tires? I don't know what a Wanda is, unless you mean Mamba. Mambas are kind of like vampires. You got to be really careful. They're just way overlugged. And as far as the Dirt Devil bias tires, we actually used to see a lot of ATVs up here run the Dirt Devils. And the thing about Dirt Devils is they were designed to sink into gravel. They weren't really designed for the mud. So if you're running on a lot of mud, the Dirt Devils just don't do it. They're a great kind of intro to a dune running tire. They're kind of like the Sun Fs that I ended up putting on the gas-powered Power Wheel build. And they just, I don't know, they're great little universal tires, but they're not specifically designed for a mud running capability. Harbor Freight ammo box versus Walmart. that's a comparison video one of you are welcome to do, but I don't think I'm going to make a full video on that comparison. I like doing comparison videos, but that one's definitely not one that I would get into. Oh, 633 is the transactional number I was trying to think of. Cool. I'm glad somebody caught me there. Yeah, the Devil's Transmission 666. Close enough. All right, so we'll touch on this question just because of the fact it's ended up coming up a couple of times, and I'm going to answer it rather point blankedly and then drop it. From Vroom Beep, asking about Donovan and showing up in the questions. Donovan was not my son biologically. I stepped into his life and I raised him for a while, and after the divorce, there was a bit of a falling out, and his mother ended up making the choice that he wasn't going to be here anymore, and that's all there is to it. I wish him the best of luck. I hope that he does well in life, and I hope that he manages to make something of himself, but that's unfortunately the way of the world. Okay. Let's move on here. 633 and Peerless 2300 are tanks. Yeah, most definitely tanks. Without a question. Again, old Sears Suburban. I'm gonna diesel swap it when the Tecumseh goes. Yeah, see that's the big thing about those Sears Suburbans is those Tecumsehs are just really hard to find parts for. iSaveTractors.com. I can't talk enough about that guy. He really does an amazing job, and he's really been right up there on par. If you end up getting on his channel or something, tell him Redneck Computer Geek sent me. Flag him down and tell him straight outright. The guy is really cool. Love his channel. Go subscribe and bug him. Tell him I sent you. Make sure he knows it, because he definitely gets my thumbs up, my approval, and I hope he does really well. His channel is growing quite nicely, and I fully support him. All right, let's scroll down through, and let's see what we can find here. Okay, so we got scrolled down here. We got Jonathan comes in with, on the Not the Norm build, did you ever pulley swap it for speed? If so, what did you use? So the answer to the question is, did I ever make it back to the build? No. Not the Norm is actually on my to-do list, probably sometime about 3 months or so from now, once everything gets thawed out. I'm kind of in a situation here where I need to make YouTube. When you hit a certain point with YouTube, you got to make a decision on what makes you money versus what's fun. And I'm at a point where financially I've got to decide either A, this is going to be a hobby for me, or B, this is going to be something that actually pays the bills. And so I've got to do a couple of builds that I'm more certain will end up pulling the views. And then after that, I will get into some of the more fun, I want to do stuff. The Not the Norm build, I won't say it never pulled views, but it never pulled as many views as I expected it to, if that makes any sense. So I do want to get back to it. It is one of the most favorite builds that I've ever attempted, and I want to get back to it, and I want to rip apart and redo a few things on it before I try doing the pulley swap. Now, the next question is, what would I have done for a pulley swap, or what am I going to do? And to answer that question, what I'd like to do is I'd like to go and take the original Craftsman's clutch assembly, and I want to move it down the chassis about 2 inches. And the reason for moving the chassis down, moving it 2 inches down the chassis, is that's going to allow me to be able to put in probably a 8-inch engine pulley. And if I take that 8-inch engine pulley and I come down through to, say, a 6-inch pulley on the transmission, I think it's got a 7 on it right now. So if I take it from a 6 on the 5.5 on the engine that it is now to a 7, and I swap that to an 8 on the engine and I swap it down to a 6, that should theoretically double the input speed going into that center transmission, and then that'll in turn double the output speed of the rear tires. So if that's the case, I should be able to go from the like 5 miles per hour that it does now to about 10 miles per hour. And then at that point, I can work on putting the front axle in. I do have an MTD all-wheel steer rear axle. I actually ended up getting a hold of one about 3 years or so ago. It's just life has been one of those cases, and I never got back to putting it in. But it is one of the goals. About 3 months or so from now, I'm going to pull Not the Norm back in. We're going to get the, we're going to do a teardown on the 18 horse that's in it, clean it up and throw it back together and get back on that build. But right now it's really going to be about what pays the bills. And that's just unfortunately the way that the money is. All right, so let's scroll up here. Let's see what we got going on. I'll do the comparison video on the Harbor Freight. Okay, sorry. Don't bash on somebody else's ideas. I will do the comparison video on the Harbor Freight versus the Walmart ammo boxes if I hit 50 subs. Okay, everybody subscribe over. Whoa, there we go. Everybody subscribe over to 132 Hoons. That way he has to go buy 2 boxes. All right, let's see. What do we got going on here? Okay. This whole scrolling chat thing really messes me up. I got to figure out a better way to deal with this. All right, we're going to jump down here. Let's see what we can find. Those Tecumsehs were the first engines of overhead valve design. I wish I knew whether that was true or not, but the one thing that I will tell you from experience up here in Maine is that a lot of people just do not maintain the oil level on them, and they eat oil, or at least they do in their older age, and that's what tends to blow most of them up. And they snap the rod and they put it right straight through the side of the block. And the problem is it's not like a fixable block break. It's a catastrophic, I broke the whole thing halfway in half type block break. And that's the reason why they all just get ripped out and stuff. I have bought and sold 3 different John Deeres at this point with those engines in them, and every single one has had a rod through the side of the block. You should do a video on all your tractors. Actually, there's going to be a project list video coming up. I'll probably end up doing that in about 2 or 3 weeks. I'm waiting to see what this snowstorm does that's coming in. There's supposed to be a snowstorm coming through probably sometime in the next, let's move that over this way more. How's that? There. Now I don't look so like weird when I'm trying to read what you guys are writing. So there's going to be a snowstorm coming through, and unfortunately that means everything's going to end up undercover. But I want to go through and I want to do a video of like the different projects that are available around here, and maybe get all of you to chime in what projects seem to be most interesting, most controversial. I don't know. I'm trying to find a term for it, but I got a bunch of different projects coming up. I got a whole ton of things that I'm going to be tinkering on. I want to get back into the electric stuff, not necessarily just the Power Wheels. I really personally have like this mad scientist weird interest in the MTD electrified tractor. I don't know why I'm obsessed with this stupid thing. I constantly find myself on Amazon looking up everything that I possibly can in order to be able to electrify that thing. I've even gone so far as to start hunting around on the Craigslist marketplace for electric golf carts that are lacking the batteries, and maybe drop one of those motors into the front and drive that MTD rear axle until it blows itself into oblivion or something like that. I don't know. Electric dragsters are one of my major like hobby geek outs, and I just would love to go and build the lawn tractor equivalent of a Tesla. Okay. I love the Mud Wizard, even though main mud mower had to go. I'm working on my own mud mower build. It's a Craftsman 830 rear engine with a go-kart solid axle with a push mower engine on it. Any advice? Hey Ken, yeah, going back to that main mud mower thing, it just sometimes you got to start fresh, man. It was what it was. Main mud mower was associated with another time in my life. I think we'll word it that way. That's a nice polite way to say it. And so I needed a restart. I needed to cleanse everything and just start fresh. I love the Mud Wizard build. I can't wait to go and slam it around on some real trails and break something on it just because I hit something. It's an amazing little tractor. I can't wait. Hands down, it thoroughly has way more capability than main mud mower ever had with that front end setup. And I can't wait to prove it when I hit the trails. Like I said, I've got access to a park in order to be able to go romp that around with the ATVs and stuff. And they've got a couple of different test out courses that I can't wait to go play with. So we're going to see what we can do there. Ironically, I actually just saw Murray Mayhem logging in, and Murray Mayhem had a little device on his YouTube channel for a couple of videos that was called a solo shot. It's a kind of like a GoPro on steroids that'll follow you around outside when you're driving or running or something like that. And I've been looking into one of those, but their price is just a little bit too high right now. If they drop another $100 or so, I'm probably going to invest in it and see what we can do. And then that way, when I go places and I'm mucking around and stuff, I don't have to be having just a static camera. I can be able to have that follow me. We'll see what we can do there. Let's see. I would love to see Not the Norm become a 4x4. Yeah, no kidding. That's exactly the goal with Not the Norm, is to go full 4x4. I built Not the Norm based on the idea of making an actual honest-to-God 4x4 lawn tractor. I respect everybody that builds a rear steer 5-speed, twin shifting setup. I respect it. Hands down, you got my praise for the fact that you managed to build a frame that was solid enough that you were able to get those set in and not have them flex too much and be able to stay in gear and everything else. You totally get my praise for that. But it just innately is a bad idea. I've talked with every single YouTuber that I know that's ever built one. Everyone from Cody, the original builder of one, who was about 7 years ago, to Weather Maple Farms. He built one, I think, 5 years or so ago. I talked with Lonnie Puppet Kicker, whose machine was a clone of Weather Maple's, and that was an interesting build. But yeah, it's an interesting setup, but I just don't like it. So I designed Not the Norm to be the new standard for 4x4. I just never realized how hard it was going to go and be to find one of those MTD all-wheel steers. It took me almost 1.5 years of hunting before I found one. And even then, I kind of just stumbled across it. I didn't even actually find it looking for it. All right, let's see here. What do you think of old Murray pan frames? Everything is better with reinforcement. That's my answer to anything that has a pan frame. It doesn't matter whether it's a Murray pan frame, an MTD pan frame, whether it's a Dynamark pan frame. I don't care. If it is pan frame, then everything is better with reinforcement is the answer. Oh, let me see here. Mayhem says they're great 4K, but pricey. I agree, dude. The pricey is the problem right now. I make a decent amount doing the YouTube stuff. I won't lie. I mean, I can't complain with what I do make at my size of a channel, but there's still a little bit out there for me to be investing in for what I make. The mud mower stuff just doesn't pay the bills. That's the real reality of it. I talk with you guys out of the fact I love the sport, but if I was really honestly trying to go and pay my mortgage and everything else and be straightforward, I wouldn't be doing mud mower builds. I would be doing stuff like the gas-powered power wheel, the electric power wheel conversion builds, the implement builds. Those pay the bills. The mud mower stuff, it just is what it is. The advertisers don't like it. I do it because I want to see the sport grow and I want to see it turn into something. Like 3 years ago, the first time I ever saw a mud mower show up in a busted knuckle production, I just about lost it. I got a hold of everybody I possibly could. I called everybody and talked with anybody to say, dude, this video at such and such time, you have to watch it. I told you mud mowers were going to make it. And then that was it. I never saw a mud mower in a busted knuckle video ever again after that one, like 3 years or so ago. But they'll make it. They're going to come back. I mean, I get recognized at almost every single Harbor Freight that I walk into at this point. I get recognized as that guy that built the power wheel. So it's going to happen. It's just a matter of building up the stereo for it. I was actually talking with somebody the other day. You got to think of mud mowers as the same thing as side-by-side ATVs. When side-by-side ATVs first came out, and like John Deere made one and all of them came out with a different version of it, they were a utility vehicle. There was nothing cool about them. They were just essentially micro farm trucks. They were made for going around the farm. They were made for gentlemen's farms and stuff like that. They weren't designed to be off-road. It wasn't until all of a sudden some crazy nut job, well, we all know, redneck, got a hold of one, decided to throw some extra tires on it, lift kit it, and wow, we got a side-by-side ATV. And the thing is that's the way trends like that go. And mud mowers are going to eventually hit that point at some time. I actually ended up on Channel 5 New York talking about mud mowers and how YouTube was actually dealing with different things for monetization and the way that they're dealing with stuff like swears and all that kind of stuff. And I saw a jump in the mud mower videos for about a week afterwards. It was great. People came in, started asking questions and commenting and wanting to know how it ended up working and stuff like that. So it's just a matter of it's just a matter of sooner or later somebody has got to go and make it a mainstream okay thing. And once it's a mainstream okay thing, that's when all of a sudden we're going to see it. And that's my goal, is to bring it to the mainstream. Okay, got slightly off on a tangent here. Let's see where we can go. What are the requirements to register a mower as an ATV? Okay. So I end up with this a lot. So give me just a sec. I got to plug in my heater here because my garage is getting really cold. I got one of those infrared heaters. I love it. You guys have probably seen it in videos in the past, but I love that thing. That's part of the reason why it is my hoodies for the shop use. All of them are black, is because you put one of these heaters up and you're able to go and just, it's amazing. Anything that is black turns like an instantaneous 60 degrees once it starts hitting it. And it'll actually heat the whole hoodie while you're wearing on it, to the point that like your back is entirely sweating. Okay, so back to the question that you guys just asked. So the question was registering a lawn tractor as an ATV. It depends on your state. So there are actually some states in the United States where it's actually on the books that you cannot register a lawn tractor as an ATV, which sucks. It is what it is. On those states, there's nothing you can do about it. But here in the state of Maine, there's actually a list of requirements, kind of like building a hot rod and registering it. If you've ever read up on hot rod laws, every state is kind of different, and you have to find out whether your state is a set parameter, must be an ATV, is an ATV, normally ATV, or whether your state has registrations that are more like a hot rod registration, where they say it must have an exhaust that has a spark restorator. It must have a certain width. It must have active running lights. It must have an active red light running in the rear, stuff like that. If it is more written as like a hot rod registration, then you can register a mower, but you need to hit those requirements. The third part to that is that there is a difference between states that, well, I guess we'll word it as actually give a damn at registration versus don't care, it's the ranger's problem. Some states have a give a damn, and you have to actually physically show up with it. It gets inspected at that time, and then they register it. Or you have a state like the state of Maine. Here in the state of Maine, I can take any lawn tractor. Keyword, any lawn tractor. And I could go down to my local town office and I can register as an ATV. Okay? I just got to have a model, some sort of thing to use as a serial number. In my case, I end up using the Craftsman registration number that's on it. Okay? So I can go down and I can do that registration. The thing is, let's say I'm out on the trail. I'm out on the trail and a ranger stops me. Okay? If I'm out on that trail, I'm a registered ATV in the state of Maine, and a ranger stops me on my lawn tractor. Okay? At that point, it becomes the ranger's discretion on whether your tractor meets the ATV registration requirement. So let's say that I have an exhaust that is a straight pipe out the back. My tractor is getting impounded. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. In the state of Maine, you cannot have straight pipes on any ATV. Doesn't matter. You have to go and have a muffler. You have to have a spark stopping filtration of some sort, depending on how your setup was. And you have to go and have that muffler within some sort of casing so that it is not open to be able to go and hit anything like grass or hay or something like that and start a forest fire. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If you got pulled over by a ranger and you had a straight pipe exhaust, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You're getting impounded. And it's upwards of a $2,000 fine on top of that tractor getting impounded. So that's the thing about the state of Maine, is I can register anything as an ATV. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I mean, you could literally go in and register a Volkswagen Bug as an ATV. But the day that the forest ranger manages to pull you over, you better be within requirements. You better be thinner than 60 inches. You better have your muffler set up correctly. You better have your sound decibel level down to where it's supposed to be. You better have all of that stuff figured out. And there you go. That's the registration as an ATV in the state of Maine. Like I said, you got to go through your state. Okay, let me see. I remember. Okay. So Hillbilly Off-Roading from West Virginia noted that in one of my videos, I said there's a reason why is the inside of the Mud Wizard's front tires is painted red. And the other thing is my skid plate is also painted red. And the reason being for that, that I noted in the video, it's an old joke. It's a Jeeper joke. The old joke is you always put a fluorescent color where you're not supposed to be able to see it. That way you know you're in danger if somebody does see it. That's actually an old Jeep joke. If you ever see a Jeep that's got like the undercarriage in fluorescent colors and stuff like that, that actually started back in the 90s as an old joke where if you saw this color, you knew you were in danger. And that actually started off originally as a safety thing. Most people don't realize that. That started off as a safety thing, and then it ended up turning into a joke. And what it was is in the rock crawler community, you would paint certain items in the undercarriage a very fluorescent color compared to the rest of the vehicle, whether it was orange, yellow, fluorescent red, something like that. And the reason being was that if you were the person who was spotting for that vehicle and you saw that come up, it caught your eye. And you could learn at a certain point when to go, hey, no, and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So that's the old joke about the undercarriage being a bright color. That's actually where it comes from. And then it started into like a mall crawler stupid thing back in like 2015-ish. All of a sudden the mall crawlers brought it back because it was cool, and Pimp My Ride made it famous for being like chrome and stuff like that. But originally it was an actual safety thing. It was originally done for rock crawler guys, so that when you had a spotter and the vehicle came up, the spotter could catch the color and know what angle the vehicle was at and stuff. Hey, I didn't miss the live stream. Cool. I'm glad that you're here. I hope that you're enjoying it. I will make sure this video goes up after we get done. I'm probably going to live stream, I don't know, probably another 25 minutes or so. I'll probably cut it off at about an hour and a half, depending on how we go. But either way, I've got to head out around 8:30-ish in order to go somewhere. So we'll cut it off at that point. Oh, hey, I wanted to go and show you guys this. So you guys saw my old school sticker. I thought this was cool. I found this while I was cleaning. I haven't sold those things in forever. So I found a few of those. But if you guys ever want to go and send me something, it's P.O. Box 131, Belfast, Maine, 04915. And you know, I love getting mail from people, but this I thought was awesome. This came from Canada, and this is Lawn Gone. He's an awesome YouTuber. He rides with Sprocket's Garage. So he sent me that sticker, and he's awesome. He's a really nice guy. I've spoken with him many times. Go check him out. Look up his channel. Go bug him. Tell him that I sent you. Tell him you want stickers too or something. Bug the snot out of him. Ask him where you can get the stickers and stuff like that. So he's got these also. These are awesome. See, that's that Canadian thing, the moose antlers. I felt rather stupid when I finally realized that's what they were. I thought they were oil splatters at first. but they're moose antlers. Didn't figure that out until later. Made me feel kind of dumb. You know, we all have those moments. But yeah, so there's that. Maybe once we get the whiteboard figured out, maybe we can do some stickers up one side. What do you guys think? You know, maybe we should post up a few stickers about different channels and stuff like that. I'm not sure. You know, I don't know. YouTube's gotten really weird. YouTube used to be really major into the idea of like cross pollination, I guess. I don't know what term you want to use, but YouTube used to be really, really, really big on the idea of like cross promoting channels so that you help feed each other. And then it just kind of became really strangely cutthroat. You guys have already heard my theory on a few different cutthroat scenarios that I got involved in, but yeah, YouTube became really weird, and I want to bring that back. I want to bring back that Mudmower community the way it used to be back when I first started getting into the YouTube community, and we're going to see that come back. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You know, I want to see the Mudmower community grow. I make enough of a living off of what I do on YouTube with the gas-powered Power Wheel stuff and things like that, that it's really amazing that you guys support me as much as you do. And so I want to go and give back. I want to see the Mudmower community grow to the point that we're having big events that Busted Knuckle Films is promoting. That's what I want to see. All right, let's see. Back in my day, we used to mow the lawn with our teeth. Those were the days. You know, it is amazing to me on Facebook how many people will get onto my Mudmower videos and tell me I am a moron for not mowing my grass. It's amazing to me. I don't know why that sparked that memory, but yeah. What part of the world are you in? I am in Maine. I'm in Mid-Coast, Maine, and I live close to the coast, and I'm in a really weird area of Maine that currently is going very, yeah. Well, let's just say a lot of my neighbors aren't Trump supporters, and it's getting interesting around here. Okay, back to talking tractors and stuff like that. Let me see here. Best kind of tractor to go and build a Mudmower with? See, okay, there's two ways to answer that question. Best tractor to go and build a Mudmower with. The first answer is the polite answer. It's whatever you have that you can build with, okay? Now, the next answer there is it really depends on what you're doing. I mean, the real reality is if all you're doing is just running around on basic back trails and you're not actually getting in any mud and you just need speed, you don't need actual traction capability, then you can build any of your basic MTDs, even with the very dry pulley system, to do like 25 miles an hour. It's very simple, and it's done almost exactly the same way you do it on a Craftsman. Take your engine pulley and upgrade your engine pulley about 3 sizes bigger, buy the correct belt, and all of a sudden you got a very drive system that does 25 miles an hour. Now, is that F&R transaxle going to hold up to getting dropped into the mud? No. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. The F&Rs are anywhere near as capable as other transmissions. Now, the next step up to that answer is that when you hit, like, say, a pan frame, like, say, a Murray or an older Dynamark or something like that, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You're going to end up having to get into a custom clutch. Once you get into the custom clutch on that pan frame, you're also going to have to get into frame reinforcement rails. Once you get into frame reinforcement rails, you're going to have to go and get into reinforcing your transmission mounts. Once you end up making new mounts because the old mounts were just too flimsy, then you're going to have to go and get into making reinforced mounts for that transmission mount. So why not just fast forward at that point and drop into something that's got at least a C-channel frame? So at that point, you're dropping up into one of the black Murrays, which is what it is. You're going to have to build a custom clutch. But there's all kinds of videos and how-tos and stuff like that. There's been how-tos on how to go and do a custom clutch for over 12 years on YouTube. And honestly, all of your custom clutches that everybody builds for the Murrays are actually based off of a 1977 Lawn Chief clutch. They weren't even actually invented by racers. They're actually 1977 Lawn Chief clutches that basically everybody just copied. The clutch design, the whole double pulley, all of that, it's from 1970s. So as far as answering the question on what can be a mud mower, the easiest stock tractor to convert to a mud mower, hands down, in my opinion, is an AYP Craftsman. From there, if you get into any of the Murray-based C channels, that would be my next choice. But you're going to have to do a custom clutch of some sort. If you have a pan frame, play with it, enjoy it. Don't flex it too much. And just know that it is what it is. It's a pan frame. If you have an MTD, build it, play with it, give it to the next door neighbor's kid. Don't go to the ER when they end up there. That's my advice. So Craftsman, C channel of some sort, pan frame, anything that's an MTD, F&R Vari drive. From there, call it good. That being said, any Sears Suburban or any wheel horse that has the 633 or the 2300, anything like that, hands down, without question, you got the best torque that's ever going to be out there. And that's what I would probably end up picking into if I couldn't get a hold of a Craftsman AYP. Okay, let's go down through here. Let's see. Redneck Computer Geek is going to make stuff happen. That's a goal. That's my goal. My goal is to go and bring back the Mudmower community. We need to go and get it back to the point like it used to be. It used to be the Mudmower community helped each other. It used to be that we actually stood up for each other and that we ended up going and giving each other advice. There was none of this. There was none of this ego, stupid stuff. There was none of this better than you, better than him, better than this. Like, the Mudmower community used to be helpful, and we used to go and advise each other and give each other tips and stuff like that. That's what I want to see come back. I want to see the community go back to how it used to be. Okay. Sorry, I had to unplug my heater. I think I was about to go and end up with some sort of suntan. There we go, sunburn. That's what I was trying to say. Those heaters will give you a sunburn if you're not paying attention. I have burnt a sunburn in the back of my neck in the middle of winter because of one of those heaters. Not once, not twice, but 3 times now. All right. Hey, T-Man. How's it going, man? I'm glad to go and see you here supporting my live stream. I was at T-Man's live stream earlier today. He was talking about his stuff. And so I'm glad to go and see him here now. T-Man actually is one of the people that I used to go and do chat stream videos with back in the day. And we used to go and do, like I was talking about earlier, we used to go and share advice on mud mowers and stuff. It was a lot of fun back then. There were a lot less egos and a lot more people that worked on it in order to be able to actually help each other. And let's see. Ruben Fixes says, you should do a mowing video. I'm not exactly sure why anybody would want to see a mowing video. Let me see if I can come up with a creative mowing video, and maybe I'll do it. I'm not sure. Maybe I can figure out something that I can like hit with the mower that does something or makes puffs of interesting colors or something. I'm not sure. Let me think about that one. We need a show for mud mowers like Gears. I agree. We do. We need a mud mower show like Gears, something along those lines. Sorry, my kid did that. Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I know what it's like to have kids. Besides, at this point, I mean, little backstory about myself. The reason why it is I'm so like, I just don't care what people comment. I'm a teacher's son growing up in high school. My dad actually was a teacher at the same exact high school that I went to. And I don't know if you've ever heard or listened to an old song by Johnny Cash called Boy Named Sue. But whenever anybody asks me what it was like in high school for me, I always tell them that rather than being called Sue, I was a teacher's son. So go ahead, look up on YouTube the term Boy Named Sue, and you, replace Sue with teacher's son. And that was basically my life growing up. And so nothing ever phases me. You could say the worst things you ever could try to me, and nothing would ever even glimpse the things that were said to me because my dad was a teacher. Also, on top of that, I was I was actually very, very tiny. I'm 6'1" and I graduated high school at just barely 5'9.5", and I was about 135, 140 pounds when I graduated high school. I was a very late bloomer. I didn't gain any muscle whatsoever basically until after high school. So the comments just don't faze me. I actually laugh at every single one that I see when they come up and stuff like that, because it just is what it is. Oh, hey, you guys want to see something that I dug out the other day? We're going to bring back to the channel. You have got to go and pass this on to people because we're going to bring it back to the channel. You want to see this? It's actually been sitting behind me this entire video. If you didn't notice it, then bad on you. Okay, ready? Yeah, we're going to be bringing this back. I've got a couple of different ideas for it. All right, here we go. Let me see if I can spin this around. Yeah, there we go. So there we go. We're going to bring this back. We're going to go and play with that. I've got a couple of different ideas. All right, so apparently we had a malfunction here, and I managed to knock the entire camera stand off. Let's see here. All right, let's try this. Oh, there we go. We're back. Kind of. Why did that do that? Okay, so got the camera stand put back now. But yeah, pass it on. We're gonna bring back the Redneck Computer Gig Big Bore again, and we're gonna play with that some. I've got a bunch of different ideas for that. I want to bring that back and get it up and running. I fired it up the other day and made sure that the solenoid valve in it and everything is still working. So we'll see what we can do. Andrew Brinker, ever think about making a supercharger from a smog pump? You know, that's one of those everybody at some point tries it and eventually figures out that it is what it is and a lost cause. So I don't think I'll ever get into that idea, because the thing about a supercharger is you got to steal horsepower to make horsepower. And the amount that you're stealing versus what you're making with a smog pump, it's questionable as to whether it's worth it. How many kids do you have? I have 3. I have Mateo, I have Riley, and I have John. Mateo doesn't like to be on the YouTube videos. He tends to be the typical teenager. I have Riley, who is more into the creative aspect of YouTube. She actually came back with she actually came up with a new idea for the background of some of the videos, and kind of a play around idea with the videos that we're going to be trying soon. So keep an eye out for that, and make sure to go and give her some love and some praises when she does, because it's not really her thing to go and be on video. She likes to be in the background, and she likes to give advice and give me ideas. She likes to give me like cosmetic ideas or beauty ideas or whatever you want to call it, like presentation ideas. There, that was the term I was looking for. I feel so stupid now for not thinking of that. So, and then you got John, and John's kind of like me. He likes to be in the middle of things. He likes to go and be right there, and he likes to show people stuff. He likes to interact with people, and he's very boisterous. And so the 3 kids have their own little way of interacting with the channel. Riley actually might end up joining me on some of these chats later on, and we'll see how that goes. All right. Is it going to shoot fire? You know, T-Man, he gave me an idea. I got an idea for that one. I might have to borrow an old idea from back in the Mythbuster days, but I got an idea for that one. We could shoot some fire. Let's see. What motor oil do you use in a mower? Colts, I'll answer your question, but every screen keyboard person is going to go and get on here and say something. The answer to your question, as far as me and what I run, it's whatever's on sale at AutoZone that week. I run everything from 520 to 1020 to 530. Most of the engines, if I'm running them in the wintertime, a lot of them I run with 520, and I just double and triple check the oil usage in them on a regular basis. It's oil's oil when you're dealing with that 20 versus 30 area. And the thing is if your engine is running right, the 520 and the 30 weight and all of that, it's all going to run basically the same. And it just is what it is. Oh, let me see here. Am I looking forward to the Sonic movie? I guess I don't know. Interesting. I'll have to look up what the new Sonic movie is. Actually, my kids really like Sonic, so I guess I'll have to look that up. Hello from Newcastle. Cool. Do you mean Newcastle, Maine? Who do you enjoy watching in the Mudmower community? Oh, hands down, without question, Doc Sprocket. No ifs, ands, or buts. If you don't watch Doc Sprocket, then we can't talk. We can't be friends. Doc Sprocket is awesome. He's brought so much information to the community. I love the dude, but his videos are kind of bland, but they're bland because he wants to make sure everybody learns the right way to do something. And you'll never see anything wrong in his videos. And if he does post something wrong, there will be some edit that is added in that makes sure that there's no way you don't know that he told you it wrong. And he'll have another like 3 minutes of why. If you're going to learn something about the Mudmower community and you want to know the most technical, no ifs, ands, or buts, everything you could do, Doc Sprocket. He's totally top of my list. There's no question. Love it. I really like, actually, I was showing his sticker earlier. Yet again, I like down-to-earth YouTubers. I really like Lawn Gone. I like YouTubers that don't have an ego. That's my big thing. Almost every single YouTuber that I watch because of the fact that they come across to me as genuine people that actually want to help the people that are on the other side of that screen. And that's the reason I choose who I watch for YouTube. The moment you get a YouTuber that starts to just be producing videos that only got, those and that, at that point, I pretty much stop watching them, especially if that's all you see in the thumbnail. If like a third of their thumbnail is those and that, then I quit watching their videos. This is internet in 2019. I don't need YouTube in order to see that stuff. And I don't think anybody does. If I subscribe to your channel because you're rebuilding a Toyota RAV4, I want to see you rebuild a Toyota RAV4. I don't care about anything else. That being said, there are channels that I think should have that. If you're dealing with, say, like going to a mud run event and you have some sort of event in the middle of it that has to do with the queen of mud mowing or queen of mud trucks or something like that, then yes, a couple of minutes of a snippet of it is something that should be in that video if you're covering the entire event. But it is what it is. Let's see. Do I watch One Pug Life? I used to. If you want the answer to that, I used to watch One Pug Life back when he was an actual how-to YouTuber. When he ended up with a video that went kind of like, I don't know. He ended up with this video that went like viral across a whole bunch of different TV channels and stuff like that. And then he changed. His whole channel dynamic changed. And it ruined it for me. I like down to earth. I like to stay down here, and I don't like up here. I like to stay where my roots are, and I like to stay down with the people I grew up with. So that's my big thing. I find Lucky 7 to be entertaining. He also runs a Craftsman like myself. Lucky 7 is a YouTuber that, let me say this. Lucky 7, if you're watching this video, I want you to know that I hope you do really well. I think that the day that you stop worrying about the haters and that you just worry about the fans that really absolutely adore you, because you do, you have a very solid following, but I want you to know that I support you on that day. And I totally respect your choice to be the way you are towards me, but that's your choice. And the day that you decide that you want to stop worrying about the haters and start worrying about helping out the community of mud mowers, I will totally back you. So there, that's my answer to the Lucky 7. And anybody who wants to go and send him this video and tell him to watch that point, please feel free. Hello from Maine. Hey, Mainer. All right, guys. So I don't want to get into it right now, but I have something that I have to go and get going and get done. I'm going to have to go and shut down this live stream. Hopefully in the future, we'll be able to do this live stream from like, say, 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock. But I've got stuff going on in my personal home life that I definitely need to attend to. So we're going to be taking this and we're going to cut it off here in here at 8:30 and call it good. Excuse me. Jeez. That ginger ale has got some burps in it tonight. That's like the 5th one. So, you know, I really appreciate this. This has been amazing. Everybody that has come in, decided to go and talk with me, and, you know, do me a favor. Go over to I Save Tractors and subscribe to him. Tell him that Redneck Computer Geek sent you. That guy is amazing. He deserves our support from the lawn tractor community and the mud mower community. I've been talking with him off and on, and I think he's going to be somebody who's going to come in for us. So let's push him. Let's give him some love. Go check out Lawn Gone. Lawn Gone is awesome, and he's really down to earth. If you like how down to earth I am, that dude is totally straight on the same level. Very cool person. You need to go check him out. And my last closing comment is Doc Sprocket. If you want to do anything that has to do with mud mowers, Doc Sprocket he's a great guy. Amazing person. You know, heart of gold, no ifs, ands, or buts. He's a little bit boring to watch, but, you know, it is what it is. And I think that Doc Sprocket is going to grow, and we'll see him come up through in the community, and I really support him. So everybody have a good night, and I'm going to call this good. Bye-bye.